After I got in the Marine Corps, that's when my life really started, okay? I got the discipline that I needed. Then I went to college. Then I finished school. And there I was. I had a bachelor's degree in business administration, right? And I couldn't find a job. I tell people now that job means just over broke, okay? Because any job that I got, I was living paycheck to paycheck, okay? People were not paying me what I was worth. After a career in the Marines, college degree, the whole 9 yards, my professors told me I was gonna make 50, 60, 70 grand when I got out of college. And I had a military background. And I was a war veteran, right? So I was ready. At least I thought. As I was in Charleston, South Carolina, I worked for a company called Dial of America, okay? It was a telecommunications company, all right? They paid me $8 an hour. That was a lot, because I think minimum wage at that time was like $6.50. But if you calculate $8 an hour times 12 hours a day, 8 hours a day, pennies. Pennies. I saw people in the car business. I would drive by the Lexus store. You know, I'd see the commercials of Lexus and all that stuff. So I stopped in there one day. I met a general manager, you know, clean. You know, he was a white guy, right? Had a nice suit on. I think it was Armani. He was the general manager. I sat down with him, you know, because I was ready. I was determined. And he could see it on my face. Even though I don't look like I do now. I was probably just ragtag. Thought I was clean. But guess what? I was determined. So I sat down with that guy, and he said, look, Tib, I see your determination. I appreciate what you've done in your service that you've given to our country, but I don't think you're ready to sell Lexus just yet. So he stood me up and walked me over to the next door to the Toyota dealership. And that's where my life began. But let me tell you something. Coming out of the Marine Corps, I was used to craziness, right? So my first sales meeting, it was on a Saturday, kind of like in a room like this. The sales managers come in the room like drill instructors. We had sold 30 some odd cars the day before in one day. And if anybody in here knows the car business, that's a lot of cars in one day. But they still came in crazy. You guys need to get up and get out of your seats and be like, oh my God, we gotta sell some cars, because we're not doing it. I'm like, oh my goodness. This is what the car business is about? Being a Marine, I was excited, right? I looked over to one of the salespeople and he said, do this with your ears. Just let it go in here and go out the other. As they continued to curse us out for selling 30 cars. Lo and behold, 6 months later, I was burnt out. My first deal, I made $800 and it took me 2 hours to do. But I wasn't the best salesman in the world. After that 6 months, I was just burnt out. I hooked my wagon to a good mentor. His name is Stephen McLennan, okay? Clean. He was, I'd say about 28 years old, owned 2 houses, BMW he bought the showroom floor. So I knew you could make money. But like I said again, I was burnt out because it was just so high strung. So I got out the car business for a little bit, chilled out, and I wasn't making any money again. Got offered a job as a loss prevention associate for a company. I'm not going to say his name, but once again, after all I've been through, $8 an hour. My wife at the time said, Katia, you need to get back into the car business. I know you're burnt out from that store. You know, she had gotten a job in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I followed her. And I found a pretty good store. It was still Toyota because that's what I was accustomed to, right? Toyota Concord was the name. It was in in a small town kind of like this. Concord, North Carolina, NASCAR country, right? I work for a company, you know, I actually got a job with this company called Hendrick Automotive Group, right? If y'all know Rick Hendrick, he's a NASCAR guru, okay? The first sales meeting that we had, they were like, hey guys, man, we appreciate your hard work. You know, you're dedicated, you're motivated. It was a Saturday meeting again, but it was a little different. They were thanking us. They were patting us on the back for doing a good job, for doing our follow-up, for doing everything. And I was like, oh my goodness, is this what the car business is like? Really? After 6 months of being in it, it was just like a shock to see kindness, right? So that one dealership was not really, you know, the kind of dealership that we all see. You know, the dealership that is, you know, a home. So I found a home. So my story goes like this. Toyota Concord, I was sitting down with a gentleman, okay? He had a ring on, kind of like this. Well, it was just like this, actually. And I asked him, I said, man, yeah, where'd you get that ring? You know, how'd you earn that? That's a nice looking ring. Look like a Super Bowl ring. He said, oh man, it's a President's Club ring. You gotta sell such and such cars. Man, you know, I said, it's almost impossible to get. I only got it one time. I told him, I said, man, you know, I don't like people telling me I can't do something. This is what I'm thinking in my head. I told him, I'm gonna get me a President's Club ring. Okay? But with much success comes adversity. During that time, my wife at the time was pregnant, and the doctor gave our child a 50-50 chance to live before she was even born. 50-50 chance. I still remember what that gentleman told me, that I could not earn this President's Club ring that year. I also had the adversity of my child that year. But God, you know, God's blessings, my child made it. But while she was in the hospital for that 3 months in the neonatal intensive care unit, I was driving back and forth from Winston-Salem to Charlotte, North Carolina, not getting any sleep, determined, passionate about winning President's Club and passionate about my daughter living. But guess what? That year, I sold 400 cars with barely any sleep, sleeping in the parking lot of the dealership because I had to maintain my household. My wife was at the hospital with our child as I drove back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But guess what? That same year, Hendrick lost a lot of his family in a helicopter crash. Okay? His heart was in the dealerships, and he saw what was going on with me and my family. He gave us $20,000 and said, Katia, don't worry about anything. Family. I spent more time with those guys than I did with my own family. I sold 400 cars that year out of appreciation and determination for what I had. And I made it to the President's Club 5 times. We built a new store, rocking and rolling. We went from selling 200 cars to 600 cars a month. Don't ever let anybody tell you you cannot do something, because they are wrong. Unless you want them to be right. It's up to you. This business changed my life. I went from broke, busted, and disgusted, robbing Peter to pay Paul, until both of them started having conference calls, right? To making over $100,000 a year. Now, I'm not saying everybody can do that. My last year as a salesperson, I made $200,000 that same year in a recession. But guess what? I was at recess. You understand? I went to a Mercedes dealership. They told me, Katia, this Mercedes, you can't sell 20 cars a month. It's impossible. became one of the top Mercedes producing salesmen in the country with an average of 18 to 20 cars a month. Because guess what? You can't tell me I can't do something. You understand? That's why y'all are here today. What y'all gotta understand, you all are the future of Jeff Smith Automotive Group. When I come into town, a dealership is expanding. When TK Worldwide, which means training knowledge worldwide, comes to a dealership, that means that that automotive group is expanding. And you all are the expansion team, believe it or not. I'm not here to play games. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to train people on how to sell cars and train people on their life. Who in here can say they made over 100 grand? Raise your hand. I was making it in a country town called Concord, North Carolina. There's no ceilings in this business. No ceilings. How many people before they went to their job in corporate America, right? There's the car business. I don't call this corporate America. How many people in their jobs in corporate America, when they got in their car in the morning, it was like a prayer service. When you stepped in that car, oh man, I gotta go to this job this morning. Goodness gracious. Oh, Jack is going, tell me when I gotta use the bathroom, and they're trying to downsize me. I don't know if the company's gonna stay around. Please, God, just help me find something. How many in this room, whenever you get in your car in the morning, is like a prayer service? Huh? Everybody. It wasn't like that for me, because I was making money. And I was happy, because I was doing something that I loved. It's not what the car business can do for you, it's what you can do for yourself. This is just a stepping stone for you to realize who you are right now. Do you understand that? This is a stepping stone for you, and everybody in this room to realize who they are. Do you know who you are? I can go anywhere in the continental United States and say I can make over 100K. How many in this room can do that? You can drop me off in Alaska and I'm gonna make some money. You can drop me off in Japan and I'm gonna make some money. Believe me. Konnichiwa, hop in this car, let's go. Seriously. That's what happens when you are determined to win. How many people in this room are determined to win? But it starts with one thing that I want y'all to write down. And I want y'all to understand that Socrates said, writing makes a man exact. Okay? Writing makes a man exact. But I want y'all to write a 3-letter word called why. W-H-Y. Let me let y'all understand what that means. It's simple. It's not hard. W-H-Y is why you get up in the morning. My why is why I get up in the morning. My why is my child. My why is my future. My why is my children's future, their children's future. My why is my legacy for my family. My why is watching my little boys and little girl when I wake up in the morning. That is my why. Because guess what? All they can depend on is me. All they can depend on is what I provide for them. That's my why. Now everybody's why isn't the same. Everybody's why is different. Some people may not have children. Your why could be, hey, I want to be financially straight before I have them. Your why could be, I want to open up my own restaurant one day, right? I want to do this, I want to do that, but guess what? It takes money to make money. I don't believe that. I think it just takes a PhD, which is poor hunger and determination, to make money. I know people who were butt naked that landed on their feet and made money. We all hear stories about them. Donald Trump's, Bill Gates, Bill Cosby's, Oprah's. I mean, what do you think these people have in their mind? What do you think that they're thinking about every time they wake up in the morning? They're thinking about their why. So right now, folks, I want y'all to write down for me what your why is. Like I said, my why is my family and my financial future and my legacy. Write down what your why is for me right now, because I want to know what your why is. It's the most important thing that we have to start out with.